Dillian Show.
I'm Jared Dillian. This is the Jared Dillian Show. And we're going to be talking about some interesting stuff here. If you want to call in to talk about your money, it's 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. This is the Jared Dillian Show. You can also go to my website, which is jareddillianmoney.com. That's jareddillianmoney.com. Or you can follow me on Twitter at DailyDirtNam. And, yeah. So I like to talk about, there's two ways to get more money. And the way that most financial gurus like to talk about is cutting expenses. So in order to get to $1 million, you cut your way to $1 million. You cut like vacations, you cut cable, you cut this, you cut that. You cut electricity, you turn off the lights, you eat less food, you get really skinny, and then you can be a millionaire. Most of the time I like to focus on the other way, which is making more money. And nobody ever talks about that, which is nuts. Nobody talks about that. And I quite frankly, I should spend more time talking about that, because my guess is that 70% of people who are in their current jobs are perfectly qualified and capable of getting a higher paying job. Sometimes in the same industry, but maybe in another industry, maybe do something different. And a lot of people don't really think about that. A lot of people don't leave their jobs until they just reach the point of maximum pain because they're miserable. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot. And the other thing that people don't realize is that their bargaining position typically is much better than they think it is. So if you are a very productive employee and you are valued within whatever company you're working at, they really don't want you to leave. I don't. Anyway, I could talk a lot about this, but I spend most of my time talking about the revenue side, and it's more important than the revenue side. And by the way, in 2001, I had a $45,000 a year job. Now, in 2001, I could have said, you know what? I'm going to cut expenses. I'm going to cut my way to $1 million, and I'm going to stay at $45,000 a year, and I'm going to cut my way to $1 million. That is lunacy. That is absolute lunacy. Instead, I focused on the revenue side, and in 6 years, I was making $850,000 a year, which seems to be like a better idea, okay, to focus on the revenue side. And look, not everybody can do that, and I understand that, but cutting your way to $1 million is typically not the solution. It's public knowledge. Anyway, but I do want to spend a little bit of time talking about how to cut expenses. And I've also said this before, the two biggest ways to cut expenses, number one and number two, your house and your car. And you're like, what? I need a house and I need a car. No, that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is there's a good chance that you have too big of a house and too big of a mortgage, and you're paying too much interest. You have tens of thousands of dollars going out the door in interest. And my guess is that you have too expensive of a car, and you have a car loan on that car, and you're paying interest on that, and you have thousands of dollars going out the door in interest on that. Whether you buy a coffee on the way to work doesn't really make any difference when you're spending tens of thousands of dollars on interest. And this is why I get really bent out of shape if these people are like, you should just give up coffee, because it does not move the needle. It doesn't. The big thing, it's interest. We talked about in the show, I think it was last week, we talked about how the average person in the United States, first of all, the average person in the United States makes $50,000 a year, give or take. The average person in the United States has $11,000 in credit card debt and pays $2,000 in interest a year on that debt. So let me ask you something. What would you rather do? Would you rather give up coffee for 5 years, or would you rather not pay that $2,000 in interest? I mean, it just seems like it's a no-brainer. So those are the two big ways to cut expenses. That's how you save the big money. But, let's talk about how you can cut some other stuff. And, the other reason why I bring up the house and the car is because people can do without the big luxuries, but they can't do without the small luxuries. People can drive cheaper cars. You can drive a Honda, but nobody really wants to give up the coffee every day, because if you don't drink coffee, you can't take a dump. So, if you ever go by Starbucks and there's a line of people outside of Starbucks, those are all the people who haven't taken a dump yet. And if you don't take a dump, then you're going to be grouchy. So this is I mean, this is just common sense here. So tell somebody to give up coffee every day, no bueno. Use less electricity. You want it to be dark all the time. I mean, look, you can turn off the light when you leave a room. Congratulations, you just saved 15 cents. Like, does not move the needle. You got to think big. Don't think small. This is thinking small. This is little peewee stuff. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess it counts, but it's peewee stuff. Running the thermostat at 86 degrees, sitting in a hot house. No, just spend the extra $20 a month. So electricity, no. Now, going out to lunch every day, yes, you can save money there. You can save money there. And I go out to lunch every day, but I can afford it, so whatever. But most people can't, because if you go out to lunch every day, that's $10 a day. Generously, that's $10 a day. It's $2,500 a year going out to lunch every day. That's more than the interest you pay. That's a lot of money. So if you just cut lunch, going out to lunch, that is big, big savings. And all it takes is a little planning and preparation. Just the night before, like, make your lunch, or like get a can of like big beefaroni or something like that. Like, just a little bit of planning and you can save that money. Cable TV. I still have cable TV, and the reason I have cable TV is because I watch Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, just like I'm 75 years old. Okay, but I still have cable TV. But the cable, I have it in 2 rooms, so I have 2 boxes. I get billed $200 a month. It's insane. One of these days, I'm going to cut it, and then I'm going to save myself like $140 a month. So be a cord cutter. Think about this. You can save about $100 a month cutting your cable. That's $1,200 a year. Stuff like spas, that's got to go. Like, that's a frivolous expense. That's a luxury. I don't care what you say. Spas, yoga, you can probably do it in your house, I'm guessing. Manicures, nails. That's a luxury. It is. And if you're spending $30 to $50 a pop, that's, and you're doing that 20 times a year, that's a lot of money. People spend a lot of money on alcohol. They spend a lot of wine, beer, liquor. I'm not saying, look, if you want to drink, you should drink, but I'm just saying that's where a lot of money goes, especially if you go out to eat. Like, if you go out to a restaurant, then that ends up being a lot of money. Electronics, phones are super expensive, but you kind of need a good, movie tickets are cheap, but when you go to a movie, you don't get the candy and the soda. That's like an extra $20. Little kid birthday parties, you go to 20 of them a year. You have to get a present for each one. Try to drop out of that scene. Mow your own lawn. Go out to eat once a week. Gym memberships, they have Planet Fitness. It's not great, but like $10 a month, you can't beat that. Clothes, stay away from the luxury. And the subscriptions, like these subscription boxes you get. I understand how much fun it is. Yeah. I mean, look, I do most of this stuff, actually. I'm still pretty good with this stuff. That I do go out to lunch every day, and I should probably cut it out. The reason I don't is if I eat lunch in the office, then I never leave the building, and I feel like I'm going crazy if I don't leave the building. So I need that mental break. We'll talk about this more in just seconds. I'm Jared Dillian. This is The Jared Dillian Show.
Jared Dillian. Now you know a rich guy.